It's a great pleasure to introduce our distinguished motivational speaker today. We're so excited to have Nujoud Merancy. She's the Chief of Exploration Mission Planning Office. Ms. Merancy is a system engineer with extensive background in human spaceflight and spacecraft at NASA Johnson Space Center. She's currently the Chief of the Exploration Mission Planning Office, responsible for the team of engineers and analysts designing, developing, and integrating NASA's human space flight portfolio beyond low Earth orbit. These missions include planning for the Orion Multi-Purpose Crew Vehicle space launch system, exploration ground systems, gateway, and human landing system. She's responsible for ensuring the mission design, trajectory, and objectives can be successfully met by the programs and vehicles for successful human space flight operations. She has previously served as the Exploration Mission Analyst Lead and led the team developing the Orion Integrated Mission Execution, Vehicle Performance Analysis, and Exploration Mission Design. Her work experience includes system integration, test and verification, vehicle performance analysis, guidance, navigation and control, requirements engineering, and real-time operations spanning both the International Space Station program from 2002 to 2008, MPCV-Orion Program from 2009 until 2018, Exploration Systems Division from 2018 to 2019, and now the Division Chief within the Exploration, Integration, and Science Directorate. Nujoud, this is amazing. Like, we're really thrilled to have you. Thank you so much for being with us. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk about at this conference. It's extremely important that what you're doing, what we're doing to take care of ourselves as women and you know, our own health, and in particular breast cancer. So thank you for that. So in terms of when we talk about going to the moon, what we're really saying is that we're going to put 4 people on top of a rocket that has 3.3 million liters of fuel in it, highly explosive fuel, send them 384,000 kilometers to the moon, and set them down on a body that has no atmosphere, 1/6 Earth's gravity, temperatures ranging from minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit, 130 degrees Celsius, up to 120 degrees Celsius, hot enough to boil water just sitting in the sun. And we're going to do that, keeping them safe, and then bring them home again. It's extremely difficult on the human body, and it's an extremely difficult engineering challenge, but it's so exciting to do. So being a part of this and actually getting to do something that I read about in books with the Apollo program, and now we're doing it with Artemis, is what's amazing. And I sometimes have to pinch myself to go, well, I'm actually a part of this and doing that. And there's a lot of things I have to keep in mind for what we're doing to put this together and the safety of the crews that we're sending to the moon. So when I think back about how I got here, there's a few things that really stand out. So I just wanted to talk about some of those today. So going to space is extremely exciting. And one of the best things about the Artemis program is that we're going to do so with a very diverse astronaut corps. Our astronauts today represent a variety of backgrounds and heritage, men and women, and a lot of challenges that they've faced getting there. So it's really exciting to see our new astronaut corps and all of the international partners that participate that will be represented when we land on the moon. Part of that is also why I feel very proud to talk about being a Palestinian American and a part of this program, because it's not just the astronauts, it's the people behind the scenes contributing, helping, building these vehicles and systems, because this is a huge team. And one of the things about my heritage that really helped me get to where I am is because I grew up feeling different. You know, we don't necessarily see positive representation all the time of Palestinians, Palestinian Americans. So learning how to advocate for myself and not wait for someone to invite me to the table. You have to go take it, you have to lean into it and reach out there and have confidence in yourself. So being Palestinian actually helped me become more confident in that I know that I need to advocate for myself, and I'm not waiting for an invitation from anyone to any table. You belong, and you need to step up and do it all on your own. But another part of being a woman, especially in engineering or any of the sciences, you just tend to be a minority. In my engineering university program, there was only 5 women out of a class of 35 in the aerospace engineering department. In my first job on the space station, there was only 2 women, myself and one other, out of about 35 engineers working on the guidance and navigation of the space station. So you learn very early what you need to do to succeed. And one of the most important things I learned working on the space station was how to communicate. When you're working on the space station, you're doing real-time ops, there's crises, there's things that break. Learning your technical credibility and how to communicate clearly and concisely was something that I excelled at, whereas some of the men were far more struggled in. Being a woman actually helped me in this area because I learned to communicate to people that were not like me early on. I learned how to build clear and concise briefing packages, so when a crisis occurred, I was always looked on to be the one that could help explain what the situation was and work through it. So these issues that some people see as barriers are actually benefits in this case, where I was able to far more clearly articulate the problems, work through crises, and build briefing packages. And one of the most important things you learn when you're doing real-time operations, when the lives of the crew are at risk, is to learn to say that you don't know, which is somewhat ironic. You know, you're expected to be an expert in these fields, but oftentimes the thing that builds your credibility is when you point out that you don't know the answer and then you go find out, rather than speculating or taking guesses. So building your credibility, communicating clearly, these are something that I think women have an advantage from, and it's something that I learned very early on was very important to my success in this field. So in these cases, becoming a leader of these teams was important to build the communication to get there. Next, one of the things as I got a little older, I now have 2 kiddos. One's 10 and one's 12, almost 13. And I truly love being a mother. But the thing about it is a lot of times people look at motherhood as being a challenge or a barrier, something you have to work around. But frankly, motherhood taught me a lot of patience that I didn't have before. I'm sure any of the other mothers out there can sympathize that when a baby's hungry or crying, they need one of 3 things. They need to be changed, they need to be fed, or they need to sleep. And troubleshooting those problems, and you can never be mad at a baby because they just need what they need. You can't be upset that a baby is hungry, that you just need to feed them. So the patience I learned from being a mother is actually another skill that I take into my engineering and my technical practice of how do I make a better engineer. Because what we're doing when we talk about these 4 astronauts and sending them to the moon, it's a huge team. There are thousands of people on the ground working to make this happen, make it successful, be able to communicate and work through the problems. So it requires an enormous amount of patience to deal with the variety of people and skills. So being a mother actually made me a better engineer. And so these are the things that I've started to take from me as I go through all of the challenges in life. So, you know, engineering in the end, it's funny, you know, it's more about the people than it is the technical. It's managing the large teams. It's being able to help the team grow, just like your own kids. It's being able to work through the conflicts and enable things to get done. So providing opportunities and being patient with their growth, same skills you learn as being a mother, you apply in engineering, and it actually makes you a better team leader. So all of these things are things I've learned along the way. When we try to take all of these into account, and it's very clear we need to take care of ourselves in order to allow the success of others. So taking care of ourselves, getting our wellness checks, taking care of our own health is necessary to ensure that we can be successful for those around us. So I do encourage all of you to think about what you bring to the table and how you can make sure you're healthy and bringing your whole self. So as we talk about going back to the moon, all of the challenges of getting there, that 250,000 miles, 384,000 kilometers, there's a huge distance to cross. And to make that successful, it requires everyone bringing their whole selves to work, whether they're Palestinian heritage or some other heritage, whether they're women or whether they're mothers. All of those things are skills in our lives that we bring to make us better people. So when we succeed and get to the moon, it is not in spite of the challenges, it's because of the things of who we are, and that's what's important about how we go forward in life. So being a good team leader, talking about communication, advocating for yourself, and being patient with those around you in order to be a good part of the team are actually the things that I've learned most make me successful. It's not the fancy degrees, it's not how much technical work I've done or what project it was on. It was all the other things that made me who I am. So I want to just remind everyone and encourage everyone that we don't succeed in spite of the challenges we face, we succeed because of them and what we learn from them. So always take time to reflect on who you are and the value that brings to the world. Thank you so much for having me here today, and I'm really excited for this conference and all of the wonderful things you're doing.